So I want to have an honest discussion about how often exes actually come back. I mean, we always hear those stories online about, I tried a no contact rule, my ex came back, but is that the exception to the rule or the rule itself? And I figured the best way to tackle this problem was by looking at three specific things. Number one is actually looking at real statistics and looking at what reputable sources are saying about exes coming back. Number two is looking at the EBR/EGR process in comparison to the average. And number three is looking at the major things that we're recommending that gives you a slightly better chance of getting your ex back. Let's get right into it. So what's interesting about the breakup community is that there's not a lot of support with regards to statistics, and that's because I think there's a societal expectation that getting back with an ex equals bad. But for the purposes of this discussion, we really need to create a baseline, an idea of how often exes actually come back in the average circumstance. I have been able to track down 4 pretty reputable sources that can give us an idea on how to establish this baseline. The first source was done back in 2015. It's a WeTV Associated Press breakup study where 41% of people admitted that they have tried to get back together with an ex at one point. The second study was a University of Texas study where 65% of University of Texas college breakups tried to get back together. That seems a little bit of an outlier. The third study was done by the Journal of Adolescent Research, where they found that 50% of people tried to rekindle and 57% of people tried to sleep with their exes. And the fourth and most recent study that I've been able to come across came from a website called Bed Bible. Not the most reputable source, but hey, we're going to count it because guess what? There wasn't a ton of people actually doing research on this. But Bed Bible said that 44% of young adults aged 17 to 24 reported breaking up and then getting back together again, and 53% of people admitted to sleeping with an ex. So if you take all the studies that I just referenced and average them together, well, basically you get a 50% chance of an ex coming back. Pretty wild, right? Like 50% on the mark. So basically your baseline chances of an ex coming back to you is 50-50. But let's have some fun with this. Let's peel back the layers and actually compare the success rate that my wife and I get with our personal coaching clients to the average success baseline that we've just created. So I do want to preface this by saying that we went on a pretty long hiatus. The last time we actually seriously coached people was in 2021. And only recently, just a few months ago, did we start retaking clients. But first, before we actually go into the results, I think I need to set the stage a bit. So one of the things that I'm incredibly proud of is how many success stories that we've actually had come through our program. And what's interesting is when you actually look at the success stories that we've interviewed, there's a few pinpoint pieces of information that is going to be relevant to this discussion. The first one is our average success story time frame. So basically our average success story time frame from when clients start working with us occurs approximately 5.2 months after they begin working with us. Also, our research has suggested that you have a 48.25% chance, 50% chance, as a baseline of getting your ex back without our help. However, a recent study of our coaching practice in 2021 has suggested that we have seen a success rate of 70%, which means that our clients' exes either asked for them back or our clients decided they didn't want their exes back anymore, and then their exes asked for them back after they had moved on. A little bit of disclaimer here. The particular clients I'm talking about here in our coaching practice were coaching clients that either my wife or I took on either jointly or separately. There wasn't a ton of them. In all, there was actually only 10 of them. But like I mentioned earlier, my wife and I recently started taking coaching clients this year, starting in February. Between the two of us, we've taken on 5 clients. And as of right now, only one of them has gotten their ex back. So what gives? Did our success rate suddenly drop? Well, remember, I mentioned that usually the average time it takes for a success story to happen is around 5.2 months after the client started working with us. It's literally only been a month since we started, but we already have one, and I wanted to be completely honest with this discussion. Now, given enough time, I do believe that the clients that we've taken on, at least 3 of them, will probably end up getting their exes back or having an ex ask for them back given enough time. Can I guarantee it? Absolutely not, but I'm pretty confident in our approach. And this leads us back to the original question that I want to ask. What makes our success rate higher than the average baseline success rate? Like, what is the secret sauce? What are we doing that's different from everyone else? Well, ultimately, I think 5 factors went into our high success rate. And those 5 factors are as follows. Number 1 is we give away pretty much our entire process for free. And ultimately, all we end up selling is the accountability and the implementation of that process. Number 2 is we're kind of on call for the clients, which wasn't provided to our average coaching client that signs up for coaching services with our coaching practice. Number 3 is we adopted them to push more secure approaches to overcome their anxious habits. Number 4 is we were able to fit a game plan around their exact unique situation. We were able to call audibles when audibles were needed to call. And number 5, and arguably the most important, we were able to get our clients to a place where they actually didn't want their exes back anymore. So there's a few of these things that I'd like to highlight. Number 1 is actually the giving away of our process for free. So one of the things that I feel really makes us different than a lot of outfits is that we pretty much do give away all of our information for free in the form of videos like this, articles, podcasts, shorts, Instagram Reels, TikToks. We give away everything that we have for free. We're not hiding anything from anyone. Now, is it the most organized all the time? No. In fact, we have a product that basically organizes it all for you. But really what we found is that the trick with our business isn't necessarily helping people or teaching people. It's actually implementing what we're teaching them. That's where people struggle. They need accountability in the form of a community. They need implementation help in the form of coaching. That's really what I have found to be the most difficult part of the breakup recovery process. Now, the second thing that I think really highlights us and makes us a little bit different and why our success rate is a little bit higher is we're kind of on call for a lot of our high-end coaching clients. So we try to give them a lot more attention. Now, does that necessarily mean that I'm on call for them all the time? No, but pretty much every single day, either my wife or I are answering their questions, helping them through their situations. And that actually kind of goes back into that accountability and an implementation aspect. Doing that, we can constantly hold them accountable and constantly make sure that they're implementing the correct approach. Does it always work out? Absolutely not. Like I said, 3 of those 10 people didn't get their exes back. Either that was because their situation was difficult or we advised the wrong advice. Contrary to what people believe, we're not perfect. And I think probably the number one thing that really sets us apart and why we're seeing such a high success rate is we're actually trying to actively help people move on from a breakup as opposed to getting an ex back. And this is one of the big mindset shifts we have had starting really in 2021 when we started taking on these higher end coaching clients. Now, what does that mean? Well, we've actually found through interviewing plenty of success stories that the number one factor that can help you get your ex back is to move on from that ex, which seems odd and a little bit paradoxical, but it does work. And especially if you understand how the attachment styles can play into this, this really does work. But the problem is it's never that easy to just turn your feelings off or get over an ex. And sometimes you need that extra help to do so, or just someone on your shoulder constantly urging you to move on. Try not to focus so much on this. Trust us. Moving on will help them create this nostalgic reverie that's needed for them to want to come back. And that's pretty much it. That's the secret sauce. So ultimately, if you can do those 5 extra things, basically just use the free resources available on our website, YouTube channel, etc. Find someone, a trusted friend that can hold you accountable, that can constantly be on call to steer you in the right direction, to push and adopt more secure tendencies, to heal your own anxious attachment style, to be able to fit an exact game plan and make audibles on the fly, and then ultimately work on getting over your ex. That is what's going to create an environment that gives you a higher chance of success and having an ex come back.